why are you here? And I said, I have FAI and I'm trying to, do this physical therapy instead of getting surgery. And he goes, FAI, hip impingement? Nah, man, you have to get surgery. And this is in a physical therapist's office who you would think would have some encouraging words for you during your recovery. So when my hip pain first started, I started avoiding the things that I thought were causing my hip pain, such as dynamic sports. I stopped playing basketball, stopped running, stopped jogging, and then my hip pain started hurting anytime I did anything. And when I was laid down for a while on the couch to watch TV, when I took a walk with my girlfriend in the park. So you can't really avoid doing everything, and I realized I had to do something, and at the time I wasn't sure what. The areas I experienced the hip pain was definitely the common pinching in the front of the hip. It radiated all the way around to the side of the hip, and then I would also have this dull ache in the back, right kind of closer to the glute and low back region. The hip pain was extremely debilitating, not only physically but emotionally, right? You can't, I had a passion for playing basketball. I used to play all the time recreationally, but also, for my law school team that I wanted to play in. And after a quarter, I was on the floor in agonizing pain. It didn't seem normal to me that I was 22 and in agonizing pain all the time. It felt like I was a 70-year-old and something didn't feel quite right. So finally I decided to see an orthopedic surgeon to see what was going on with my hip. I got a couple of MRIs and I was diagnosed with FAI, hip impingement, and a hip labral tear. The prognosis from the orthopedic surgeon was two options. One, just do nothing and see what happens. And two, start with physical therapy with the ultimate goal to get to surgery if that doesn't work. I chose the first option, rested for a little bit, that didn't help, went back, started physical therapy. I can't forget this. I was at a physical therapist's office and there was a young guy there, and he asked me, why are you here? And I said, I have FAI and I'm trying to, do this physical therapy instead of getting surgery. And he goes, FAI, hip impingement? Nah, man, you have to get surgery. And this is in the physical therapist's office who you would think would have some encouraging words for you during your recovery. So, when I heard that, I left the physical therapist's office because obviously that wasn't going to help. I went back to the surgeon and we scheduled a surgery for 2 months down the road. So 2 days before the surgery, something in my gut, something just doesn't feel right. I start obsessively Google searching and just looking for FAI anything. And on the third page of Google was a young man from San Francisco getting into a deep squat and saying how he doesn't buy FAI. That gentleman was Matt Hsu, the creator of Upright Health, and the video laid out a perfect argument for why surgery was not the appropriate course of action for FAI, and he was very big on reestablishing hip function, and that really stuck with me. And when I really thought about it, I've never done anything to improve my hip function. I've pretty much just beat up my hips since I was a teenager, playing basketball nonstop, never doing anything close to rehabilitative for my hips. So I took a leap of faith. I contacted Matt, scheduled a session, called the hospital and canceled the surgery. And that was 2 days before. I still remember being on the call with the doctor, and she was like, okay, what are you gonna do? And I said, I found this guy in California. He has another philosophy that helps improve hip function and that ultimately makes you asymptomatic from the FAI. And she goes, okay, good luck. So I started my journey. So what's interesting to me is that the hip pain recovery was not a linear progression. It was months of feeling great, hitting some roadblocks, having to explore more, find new ways, and find new ways to improve. And that was just really interesting to me, and I got pretty obsessed with it. I really enjoyed learning what my body is able to do, why was I unable to do certain things, and kind of reclaiming and regaining appropriate hip function. Once I started figuring out I can make my hips feel better, I started exploring all this neck pain that I've had from sitting behind a desk for 20 years, and the low back pain and upper back pain, and I just started troubleshooting my whole body like I was a skeleton in a 8th grade science class. And it triggered something in me that I haven't found, and I knew I had to start doing this as a profession. Once I had this information available, I felt a need to share it. When I heard people getting surgery for arthritis or things that at this point I kind of knew could be at least explored through movement to make better and to improve, I couldn't see more people going under the knife for no reason. So for that reason, I knew that I had to leave the law and go on to this new path. So I think the coolest thing about working at Upright Health is when I see clients have a movement epiphany. And what I mean by that is when they notice or they feel something totally different and unique in their body, which makes them realize that they can get into this new range of motion, or they find a muscle that's been dormant for years, or they release a muscle that's been tense for years, right? And when things like that happen, the clients understand that these things, and being able to move better, being able to get out of pain, that's all in their control. And once they figure that out, the possibilities are endless. One thing I realized from recovering from my own hip pain is that it's a long-term process. I started in 2013, it's 2019, now I'm still improving the hip function. I feel 10 times better than I did back then, but there's still a lot of more things I'd like to be able to do with my hips. And I see the same thing with clients, and I try to emphasize that to them as well. You may not be at a 10 in pain anymore, and every day you drop that down a little bit more, until in a few years you become a better mover and you have more confidence in your movement. And as always, pain sucks, life shouldn't.